Good to go? All right. Call to order Brainerd City Council. It's Monday, June 2nd, 2025 in council chambers. Tony, please call the roll.
Chesak?
Here.
Johnson?
Here.
Stunek? Yeager?
Yep.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Here.
O'Day?
Here.
Bedell?
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4, we have approval of the agenda.
I got a motion plus an addition, if I could, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Motion to approve with an add-on, probably after our last item, if you could, related to data on point-in-time data from Crow Wing County, and also additional data related to grant funding for homeless.
Okay. We'll add that as 9J.
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Chesak, second by Bevins. Any more discussion? Being done, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same
Mr.
sign.
Chair, just real quick, I am going to send you an email, and it's to Connie and you, and I'm also copying, I believe Teresa's here, so you'll see what I'm requesting.
Item. Okay.
I'll
Thank you.
just send that. Thank you.
All right. Moving on, next we have number 5. This is a consent calendar. This is a notice of public that all matters listed are considered routine by the council and will be enacted on by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the council votes on the motion to be adopted by roll call. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve, Johnson.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Chesak. Any discussion? Tony?
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes. All right. Moving on, number 6, we have public forum. This is time allocated for citizens to bring matters not on the agenda to the attention of the council. Time limits may be imposed. Again, we'll try to keep it to 3 minutes. Looks like we have quite a few people in here. If you've already spoken on a subject, please try to let the new people that want to speak go up first. But if there's anybody here that wants to address the council, please come forward. Just name and address before you start.
You bet. Marcia Ferris. I live in Northeast Brainerd. I'm a volunteer with my church group at the Bridge on South 7th. I've made beds, I've visited with guests, I've donated money, time, and clothing. I have no fear the guests and the shelter has highly capable staff. In October 2023, I was trained by the Wilder Foundation to conduct interviews at the shelter. I interviewed 3 individuals in one evening. All 3 I could have seen as my neighbors, except things took a turn for the worse in their lives. A job loss, not being able to keep up with the mortgage, losing your house, often resulting in relationship stress, then resulting in relationships ending, were common stories. It would be easy to fall into hopelessness, depression, and chemical use. Many of the guests work, but there is a housing shortage here. Affordable housing is the solution to homelessness long term. I've been cringing at recent statewide articles, especially May 27th NPR. Brainerd says no to homeless shelter operating in the summer, leaving its guests few options. The comments from around the state were embarrassing to me. May 5th, KAXE, the unhoused in Brainerd have nowhere to sleep this summer. April 14th, Star Tribune, Brainerd City Council tells the homeless to sleep outside this summer. April 10th, Lakeland PBS, Brainerd denies the shelter on South 7th year-round operations. Public perceptions, especially when we're a tourist area, are important. Tourists seeing the homeless sleeping under bridges, in the woods, and doorways is not attractive. We know that when we travel. We are uneasy with that. Our homeless would be much better served in a shelter. One last comment. In May, Grand Rapids Grace House, which is a nonprofit, celebrated a $2 million DHS grant to upgrade their homeless shelter, doubling their capacity. They celebrated.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Paul Scogan, 13347 Norway Drive, Baxter, Chairman of the Citizens Committee to restore the Brainerd Water Tower. Just here to update everybody around that the windows are complete, the door on the top is complete, and we're looking forward to Phase 3, which is the exterior stucco refinishing. And I want to invite all council members and everybody within the city of Brainerd to our Chamber After Hours event on June 24th, Tuesday, June 24th, between 4:30 and 6 o'clock. Any questions?
Any questions from the council? Thank you, Mr. Scogan.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to come up? Really? Okay. Thank you. And it is 7:36. We will close the public forum. Moving on to number 7. This is council committee reports. First up, we have Personnel and Finance Committee Chairman Gabe Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 10 items on our agenda, the first of which is a discussion on Riverside Drive utility connection charges. And the motion out of committee is to keep the connection charge as the latest council resolution, $17,287.87, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Discussion?
So we were given a few options by staff that we could keep it as it was in the original resolution, which is what the motion is. We could adjust it down to less, or we could really adjust it to any number we wanted not to exceed 17,287. Out of committee, we decided that just staying with the original resolution, the 11,300 plus 10 years interest is the fairest for all involved. So that's what we're going to recommend.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, or President, is that still include sack and whack, Gabe?
Correct. That is just it.
Exclude second.
What? It's 17 plus sack and whack.
So it's like 3,300 for each of those.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next up, we have a few unfortunate items, the first of which is to accept with regret the resignation of firefighter Luane Mann effective June 30th, 2025, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Johnson?
Luane's been with the fire department for over 20 years. We're losing a lot of experience here.
Absolutely. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. Next up is to accept with regret the resignation of firefighter Corey Zion effective July 10th, 2025, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Johnson?
Again, excellent firefighter. We're going to miss him. Over 20 years experience, and he was a good firefighter for us.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. And finally, we have a motion to accept with regret the resignation of firefighter Dennis Howard effective June 30th, 2025, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Chairman Johnson.
Again, over 20 years experience, so if you're counting at home, we're losing over 60 years of experience in these 3 motions in the fire department. So it's unfortunate, but he's been a great firefighter, and we were happy to have him around so long, and we'll miss him.
Mr. President,
Mr. Chezak.
I just wanted to thank him for his unique resignation letter. I believe he had kind of a clever one there.
All right. More discussion. Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. Next up is to a motion to approve the fire department to establish a paid on-call firefighter hiring list and to hire up to 4 paid on-call firefighters, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Johnson?
We like to have 40 or up to 40 firefighters. We have 3 retiring this summer. We are at 39 right now, so if we can retain the 36 we have and onboard these 4 by January 1st, we will be at the budgeted number of 40.
Excellent. More discussion?
Mr. President, I have a question. I don't know if Gabe can answer. Is there some sort of requirement that they retire at 20 years, or or it's maybe Chief Holmes?
Chief Holmes,
Yeah, what's
is there
the
any
pattern here?
requirement for retirement?
No, there's no requirement, they just have, they'll get 100% of their pension that they've been accruing, so they choose to go at that time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. Next up is to ratify the hiring of Connor Plaggy for the GIS specialist position effective May 21st. Further, that he be placed on step 1 of the GIS specialist wage grid, $28.07 per hour, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. If you notice in the packet, HR Director Schubert pointed out that we received 45 applications for this position. So the city of Brainerd is a popular place to work.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next up is I move to ratify the hiring of Jacob Walls as the network administrator position effective June 30th, 2025. And further, that he be placed on step 4 of the network administrator wage grid, $47.25 per hour, and I so move.
Second.
Motion Johnson, second Bevins. Johnson?
If you see, we received 21 applications for this, so it's a popular job. We, if you note, we did hire him at step 4. He is coming from a different municipality with years and years of network administrator service already, so he should be able to slot right in and help out the city of Brainerd.
Very good. Any other discussion? Seeing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. Next up, we have some movement over at BPU. The first motion is to promote Stephen Dryberg to the meter service worker position effective June 3rd. Further, that he be placed on step 6 of the meter service worker wage grid, $41.59 per hour, and I so move.
Second.
Motion Johnson, second Bevins. Johnson?
This is a promotion for Steve, and he was our meter tech locator, and he was offered the job and accepted for the meter service worker position.
All right. Any other discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. And the second one on this item is I move to approve the updated meter tech locator job description as presented and to authorize staff to complete an internal job posting process to fill the position, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Chairman Johnson.
This is the position that was vacated about 90 seconds ago when we promoted Stephen Dryberg. Both the meter service worker and the meter tech locator positions are included in the 2025 public utility budget.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Okay, next up is some public utility director and hiring process discussion. We had one motion out of committee. It was not the recommended motion, but the motion out of committee is I move to withdraw the interim search and continue to work towards the best circumstances for public utilities in the city of Brainerd, and I so move.
Second.
So motion by Johnson, second by Bevins.
And
Johnson?
I would defer to Bevins to expound on what he's talking about through the
Been
best
a lot of
circumstances.
discussion over the last couple of years about things like integration, and you saw from our past public utilities director in his resignation letter, there's still some concerns. At this point, the council has chosen to withhold moving forward on anything with this issue, but I really think it'd be unfortunate to hire a public utilities director at this time until we satisfy what's best moving forward for the city of Brainerd. I also have a lot of faith in our staff. They've done a good job since the resignation of Mr. Evans. I think if we take a little time to work out what's best for all of us, then we'll make a better hire.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, I seconded it in committee, and I agree, and I'll vote in favor of it. As far as integration, we can have that discussion. Kelly wants to put that to bed and have a final discussion on it. But I do think there are items not related to integration that cause problems with our previous public utility director that we should, as a council, resolve before we post and hire someone else. And those issues need to be presented in black and white to us, and we need to make decisions on how we expect that to be answered moving forward, so the next public utility director does not feel he was bait and switched or given a false deal.
Sure. Are you guys trying to put a time frame on this type of discussion, or,
It's not part of the motion.
okay? In your,
Obviously, as soon as possible.
as soon as
Yeah,
possible, okay?
Yeah, but I think it could be a mistake to hire a public utilities director now without answering some of these questions.
If things are going smoothly over there right now,
Yeah, but
What's the
I
rush,
think we
right?
should probably move forward on answering some of these questions. I
Right.
think it'll be better for the next public utilities director.
yeah, usually when we take our time like that, things get smoother at the end. So I agree.
Yeah.
Any discussion over here?
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
Jezak?
yeah. Did you all receive the email asked to be included related to this item from Nick Broyles on, it has to do with the city charter,
Yep.
okay? Chapter 5, Public Utilities. So we appoint our commission members. They are in charge of the Public Utilities Commission and the operations. And when it says the city council shall employ all necessary personnel or help, I'm a little concerned that if those people who doing their job and what they think is best for the commission, think it's best to have a public utilities director. And that is essentially, according to our charter, I'm hard pressed to say that we're just gonna kind of hold off on moving forward. That's what I understand the motion is, right? Not really get after it.
Yeah, it's not saying that we're not going to hire a director. It's more of a, let's take some time and iron out the kinks.
Well, have the kinks been identified?
That's a good question for PNF.
I could identify about 8 kinks right now off the top of my head. I'd rather put everything together in one agenda item and talk about it as a council. But there's plenty of problems. I think you read Director Evans' resignation letter. We haven't changed anything. We haven't changed anything about how we operate.
If you were to review the resignation letter, though, I think that's more, not so much with how the utilities is operating. That wasn't focused on that at all. But that's another debate or discussion for another time. But I would just be voting no on this because I think we're not following the charter by not moving forward with searching out a public utilities director as the commission asked us to do, according to city charter. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Mr. Erickson?
I'm comfortable supporting the motion coming out of committee. I watched the Public Utilities meeting. It was a split vote at the Public Utilities Commission. And as was said, this motion is not saying we're not going to hire an administrator. It's just perhaps putting a pause on it for a while. So I'll vote in favor of it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. Tony, you please call the roll.
Chesak?
No,
Johnson?
Yes.
Yeager?
Nope.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes?
O'Day?
Yes, that motion passes. And moving on, Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. Let me get back to the agenda here. I was looking for that email. I didn't find it.
This is just to turn it over to Chris.
Did we even make that? Was that a motion?
Yeah, well, no, but
So
there is no motion.
So there are 2 other recommendations here that we had discussion on. We didn't make a motion. They asked to use GMP consultants and create a hiring work group. We didn't take any action on that, but we did tell Chris to reach out to GMP and kind of get briefed on the process, the timeline, so she can come back to us on when we need to get this in by to get our rebate or free hiring or whatever you would call the deal. But we'll have Chris come back with more information at the next
I
meeting.
think she has some now. I think she's already reached out to GNP.
Oh, you want her to update? Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, Chris Schubert.
So as I mentioned during committee, I had reached out to GMP and informed them that Mr. Evans had resigned. At that point, we had said that we weren't ready yet to hire. We wanted to get our house in order a little bit more first. And he's aware of that. Mr. Weldon had said that we could go beyond that 1 year time frame. I can reach out to him again if you'd like, but he was fully aware and he had said we could extend beyond that if we needed. So he wanted this process to be successful, and that's why he said that they would guarantee that longer.
Thank you.
Oh, we're pretty much at our year right now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay,
But he quit before the year. They're aware. They're going to honor it.
right, okay. Thank you.
All right. Any more discussion? Was there another motion here?
Yeah, and item number
No,
9.
my committee has one more item, but
Okay.
for.
So for that
Utility
number,
Director,
item number 9, we'll probably revisit some of those items or those issues next.
We'll have it back on PNF or full counts. We'll have it somewhere next time, yeah. It's not going away.
Perfect. Carry on.
Thank you. The final item is a request from Brainerd Community Action for 4th of July fireworks. And the motion out of committee is to approve the request from Brainerd Community Action for a donation for 4th of July fireworks in the amount of $8,000 to be paid from special projects budgeted line item, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Chairman Johnson.
We budget $28,000 a year for council special projects. As of May 27th, we have allocated $5,500, leaving a balance of $22,500. So after the fireworks, we still do have $14,500 in the special projects budget.
Thank you. Is this the typical amount?
Yeah, this is what we've done since 2016. It has been $8,000 a year.
How many minutes does that pay for of fireworks?
About 4 nowadays.
20.
20. Sounds like 20.
Roughly 20 minutes.
All right. Okay, we have a motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Do you have any more discussion? Looks like none. Let's go to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
End of report.
Thank you. Moving on to 7B. This is Safety and Public Works Committee. Chairman Tad Erickson.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. We have 5 items on our agenda, the first of which is approval of the local 218 liquor license. The motion coming out of committee is to approve the Class 2 restaurant license and a Sunday on-sale intoxicating liquor license renewal for $10 investors operating as local 218. And I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak. More discussion?
Oftentimes, these are on our consent calendar. The reason this is on our main, or committee agenda is that state statute prohibits anyone with a felony getting a new license. Renewals can be denied. The applicant was convicted of a felony in December of 2023, I believe is what it was. And so just that option for the city to deny, given that extenuating circumstances, why it was on this agenda. The motion, there was a very nice letter that was written. The applicant was present, and the motion coming out of committee again was to approve.
Thank you. More discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, same sign. That motion passes. Chairman Erickson.
All right, our second item, consideration of an ordinance prohibiting the feeding of stray and wild animals. The motion coming out of committee was to direct staff to proceed with an ordinance prohibiting the feeding of stray and wild animals, except for above-ground bird feeders. And I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak. You have more discussion?
Staff was approached regarding a complaint of a resident feeding stray cats, resulting in a number of cats congregating. And they've received a handful or a few requests over a period of time, skunks, turkeys, other things of that nature. And staff brought it to us. There's not an ordinance that specifically deals with feeding of stray or wild animals, and so wanted to seek direction on how council wanted to handle that. There was a lot of discussion in committee of whether our active code enforcement or our blight ordinance or even public health nuisance could address these issues, or even animal control. It was mentioned that, those ordinances don't specifically speak to this issue, and an ordinance would support animal control in handling these situations. So the motion coming out, of course, was to direct staff to proceed with the ordinance and bring that back to council.
Thank you. More discussion? Johnson?
Question: how do we enforce feeding of wild or stray animals? What if I want to feed my dog in my backyard and just put a bunch of seed down? What if I want to feed my cat, my chickens? Where do we draw? How do we enforce this?
Enforcement, Mr. President?
Yeah, go ahead.
Enforcement also came up as a discussion item and a potential challenge, as you're mentioning. If I could, I may defer to staff at other comments on how
Sure.
they might approach that.
Mr. Kramvik?
So wouldn't pertain to any animals that are licensed through the city of Brainerd, so that'd be chickens, dogs, your own, but certainly if you leave a bowl outside, there could be potentially a stray animal that does go back there. In the situation that kind of brought about this, there's a significant number of cats, so I'm not sure if with being a complaint based, reaching out to animal control or our department, it probably would be a high situation or a high volume of stray animals or wild animals feeding.
So
But-
we don't really know yet. I mean, is this a police thing or an animal control thing?
It's kind of a little bit of both. The animal control officer, from what I was told, talked to the neighbor that had the complaint and stated that our city code doesn't have anything pertaining to feeding of stray or wild animals, so there's no citations that could be given to that property owner. Currently, right now, they'd be able to trap the stray animals on that person's property where the nuisance occurred. This is kind of a result of complaints that we've seen over the years, and specifically a complaint on this one.
Okay, because I support the idea of let's prohibit feeding wild and stray animals. I'm having trouble getting into the enforcement. Because if I own 4 cats and I want to put down 20 cats worth of feed, that I can just do that, right? If 16 cats show up, that's not my fault, it's the cat's fault.
It'd be a little weird, but
But I'll support it and see how it fleshes out when it's black and white on paper, but I am concerned about the enforcement of it.
right, it might be a little difficult. So right now, Mr. Kramvik, is it state law through the DNR that you can't feed deer in certain areas?
That's correct, because of chronic wasting disease in Crow Wing County. So that's already
that
kind of
the
applies to
only-
this a little bit, but
Besides baiting for hunting, is that the only wild animal feeding law that we have?
I believe so. I did look at other municipalities' ordinances, and some other municipalities do have ordinances regarding wild animal feeding.
Okay.
So it's not uncommon.
was my
I didn't
next
see a lot of ones pertaining to stray animals, but did see a number of them pertaining to wildlife.
Okay. All right. Mr. Erickson?
Just to round this conversation up too, to Councilman Johnson's point, I shared the same concern in committee. I supported it. But ultimately, I think, just seeing what staff comes back, I think the draft ordinance hopefully will address some of those issues, and, we can decide at that point.
Thank you. More discussion?
Just a comment, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Mr.
I
Bevins.
agree with everything that Mr. Johnson said. I think enforcement's going to be somewhat of a challenge. I hope our animal control officer can handle this. And I hope our police officers can stay as far away from this as possible. It also kind of perplexes me, or maybe shocks me, that we're drafting ordinances about the feeding of stray and wild animals, and yet, can I feed homeless? Yet we seem to be more concerned about the stray and wild animals than we are the people living on the street, and that sort of perplexes me. So, anyway, I will vote in favor of this.
Thank you, Mr. Bevins. Anyone else? Seeing no more discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Erickson.
All right, our next item is adoption of resolution authorizing transit operations in 2026. Motion coming out of committee is to recommend adoption of the attached resolution, entering into the grant agreement with MnDOT for providing transit services, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak.
Resolution, Mike.
It's a Resolution, got it.
As stated, resolution, so this is our annual transit grant agreement. In the past, it's been at 85% funded by MnDOT, 15% by locals, by the city. During the COVID years, that went up to 100% being funded by MnDOT, and they're trying to work their way back to that similar split. And currently, this split for both capital and for operations is a 90% MnDOT and 10% local. As I said in committee, I'm a MnDOT employee, so I will abstain from voting on this.
Thank you, Chairman Erickson. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Against? Oh, I just said that too. Tony, go ahead, call the roll.
Chesak.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Yeager.
Yep.
Bevins.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes, that resolution passes. Chairman Erickson.
All right, thank you. Our next item, approval of Bolton and Menk proposal, new bridge inspection and rating. Motion coming out of committee is to approve the proposal from Bolton and Menk in the amount of $4,200 for bridge inspection and load rating analysis, and I so move.
Second.
By Erickson, second by Chesak.
So we have a new bridge in town. We've had it. We didn't know about it. It's the Lum Park. It's really, I would say, maybe a culvert. Interestingly, there's a federal definition of bridges and a state definition. The MnDOT state definition is any bridge span or culvert span, if you will, of 10 feet, which defines what we have at Lum Park as a bridge. And that requires us to take some action as far as additional staff time to inspect and check the load ratings for that area. And so that's why we're reaching out to Bolton and Menk for this agreement.
Thank you. Maybe I missed it on here, but how often does this need to be inspected? This is for staff.
Initially, it starts at 2 years. Depending on the condition and the rating, it can go up to 4, depending on.
Every 2 to 4 years? Okay. And $4,200 now, probably more than that each time from here on out. How much was this culvert?
The 42 is going to be the initial one. It'll probably be less because we don't have to do a load rating every time.
Okay. But how much was the culvert that they're calling a bridge?
I couldn't tell you that right off the top of my head.
Like 60,000? Okay, let's keep that in mind.
That was a
future
guess.
projects. It was something, I want to say it was maybe 60 or 80,000. Way too much money already, but either way, okay. Is what it is. More discussion, Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, my question's along the same lines of yours, Mr. President, and that's, do they make 9-foot wide culverts?
We could probably make one.
2 feet off.
Yeah, I mean, we have 12 there now. Can we make it 9.5?
We could replace it with something different.
Let's put that in the notes for next time in 40 years to put a 9-foot culvert in there.
Keep them at 9 feet. All right. So we have a motion on the table. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Erickson.
All right, our final item, approval of final pay estimate for improvement 2311 O Street Outfall Repair Project. The motion coming out of committee is to approve the final pay estimate for improvement 2311 to D. Chantel Excavating in the amount of $2,891.52, totaling $61,451.50 for the entire project, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak. More discussion? Mr. Chairman Erickson.
You'll recall that this was an item on our previous agenda. We had a sewer outfall pipe that had failed and was causing some outwash and caused some adjacent property damage. This project fixed that outfall pipe and repaired the turf. Staff mentioned this final payment was withheld just to make sure the seeding and everything and now has resulted in this motion.
All right. More discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Erickson?
End of report.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 8. This is unfinished business. First, 8A is a call for applicants. Mayor Bedot.
Thank you, President O'Day. The following commissions have positions available. The Charter Commission, 2 terms expiring 2025, 2 terms expiring 2026. Housing Redevelopment Authority, 1 term expiring 2027. Library Board, 1 term expiring 2027. Public Utilities Commission, 1 term expiring 2028. Transportation Advisory Committee, 2 terms expiring 2025, 1 term expiring 2026.
Thank you. And as council president, I just have 2 terms available for the Water Tower Committee. So if you want to join the Water Tower Committee and hang out with Paul Scogan more, feel free to do so.
Mr. President, how many
Yes, sir.
people are appointed to the Water Tower Committee? What's the
Scogan, how many do we have on there? 5 right now. 5, so a total of 7 usually if it's full? 7.
Thank you.
You bet. All right. Next, we have 8B. This is a final reading for proposed ordinance 1582 as amended, an ordinance amending section 1110 of the Brainerd City Code pertaining to cannabis, hemp, and related businesses. And is this you, Connie? Go ahead.
So the first reading of the proposed ordinance was held on April 21st, and the council also made a motion to not hold a public hearing on the proposed ordinance as it was not necessary. At the May 5th council meeting, staff presented the council with alternative language to the proposed ordinance, namely that the city could issue retail registration to a retailer that has a valid license or preliminary approval by the OCM, and that the proposed retail location complies with all of City Brainerd zoning and land use ordinances. Legislation was needed in order for the city to be able to issue registrations based on preliminary approval. Staff waited to bring the final reading and consideration for adoption until tonight's meeting because it was passed in the state legislation. This ordinance also establishes that the 2 cities' retail registrations will be issued on a first-come, first-served basis. So the recommended action is to conduct the final reading of proposed ordinance 1582 and dispense with the actual reading, which requires unanimous vote, and then to consider adoption of ordinance 1582.
Thank you, Connie. Does anybody on council have questions? Make sense to everybody? All right, and we're looking for,
So moved to conduct the final reading of proposed ordinance 1582 and dispense with the actual reading.
Second.
motion by Bevins, second by Johnson. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against, same sign. Motion passes. Now we're just looking.
Move to adopt ordinance 1582.
Excellent. Motion by Bevins, second by Johnson. Any discussion? Tony?
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes.
Stunic's a no.
All right, that one is in play. Moving on to 8C, we have a final reading for proposed ordinance 1583, ending the future rural services district properties. This one, I believe, is James Kramvik.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So staff have attached proposed ordinance 1583 that would not allow future properties to be added to the rural service district, but allow properties to remain in the district if eligible. The city council has already conducted the first reading. City engineer Dean and I reviewed the list of rural service district properties and found 11 properties that should be removed from the rural service district because of the availability of sewer and/or water services. So with that, just want to also make note that staff did send notices to property owners that may potentially be affected by this, those 11 property owners. Staff recommends to first hold the public hearing, conduct the final reading of proposed ordinance 1583 and dispense with the actual reading, approve proposed ordinance 1583, and then approve the resolution approving summary publication of ordinance 1583. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Does anyone have questions for James or for staff? Doesn't look like it. We're going to hold a public hearing here in a second.
Okay.
Anyone have questions? Nope. All right, well, let's open the public hearing. It is 8:09. If anybody's here to speak on this, please come forward.
Sure.
Just name and address before you start.
Rick Sweet, 8742 Delmar Drive. I live on, you know where Delmar Drive is, where it was the first property on the north side next to the potlatch land before they made the development. So they, ran sewer and water down Delmar Drive, stopped it. The property lines aren't lined up north and south. Like the south line is here, my north line is here, there's like 10 feet different. They ran the main line down to that property line and then put a fire hydrant there.
sewer line and water line. I have no hookup. Was never assessed. I can't hook the waters to the city sewer and water unless, I don't even know how it'd work, but I have to come and propose to the city, come and dig a hole, give me a stub in lines, and then just for my property, that really doesn't, to me, doesn't make sense. I understand talking with James that there's a pretty substantial tax increase by this move, if that's true. I don't see how that makes sense that, because I don't have it stubbed into my water line. You know, so I'm just respectfully asked that my property be omitted from getting moved. And besides, I'm 250 feet from the road, along with all the other properties to the east. And that's probably why they didn't run it all the way down Delmar Drive back 20 years ago, I'm guessing. I don't know, but just my thought. I just don't think it's makes sense and fair at this point.
Could I just ask you to describe the property? Like, what size of property are we talking?
It's 150 foot wide,
Okay.
and I got 5 acres of land, or 4.7.
And it's primary residence for you?
Primary residence,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So that's all I asked, that we just take a look at that property, and does it make sense? I can't imagine you're gonna come out and dig out a hole for one piece of property. It doesn't affect anybody else down my road, just me. Unless the engineer can, you know, my perception, I guess.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? Ask one more time if there's anyone else here, or if there's anyone online. If you want to hit *3, we can plug you in. Looks like no. All right, we will close the public hearing. It's 8:11. All right, so now we can discuss. Mr. Bevins, you have something?
May I ask a question of staff now that Mr. Sweet's been up here?
Go for it.
I take it Mr. Sweet's property, and they're all listed by property ID numbers. Doesn't say Mr. Sweet's property. He just told us he can't hook up, or it's impractical for him to hook up. But I presume he's part of the ones that would lose their rural service discount or exemption. Something must be wrong. Can't have it both ways. Either they can hook up or they can't. If he can't, if it's impractical, my next question would be, can we pull that one property and leave it as an exempt?
So I'll answer the first part. Max, if you could pull up the aerial photos on this item, and then it's on page 4. Scrolling, one more, I think. So it's that property, so council can view it. And then kind of the second part to that question is staff recommended holding a public hearing to hear from potential property owners first, and then certainly before conducting the next reading, that property could be pulled off. And then I'll let Mr. Dean answer the secondary question.
Mr. Dean?
Thank you, Council. So I spoke with Mr. Sweet and informed him about the utility on why our recommendation was to include him on the list to be removed. This sanitary and the water do extend beyond the corner of his property parcel. Depending on which one you're looking at, it's roughly about 35 to 45 feet beyond that corner. So give or take to about the driveway. It doesn't extend the entirety of his frontage, but it does extend into his property a chunk of the way. So you would have the ability to connect up to those mains. There's not an exact service line extended from the mains, but you would have an ability to connect to those mains, much like other parcels have the ability to do.
Thank you. Does that answer your question?
But that's
Okay,
a question I can't answer.
thank you.
All right. Any more questions?
I got a question.
Mr. Erickson?
The mainline stub, where the connection to the home would be, could you connect it to the home from where it's at now, or would the main line have to be extended any further? I'm going to call it east. Would you have to extend it east in order to make the stub?
It's tough to say. It depends on the plumbing of the house. If the plumbing's on the east side, it might make it more of a challenge. I'm sure you could potentially plumb it that way, depending on depth as well. There's some other challenges that I can't 100% answer without knowing the plumbing of the house as well.
Thank you.
The water, since that's pressure, you almost for sure could, no matter what. The sewer is a little bit more of a question mark.
Okay. All right. Mr. Bevins.
I'd like to make a motion to exempt that property
Second.
from this
Motion by Bevins and second by Johnson. Any discussion on that one?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
the other
Mr.
thing that Mr. Sweet didn't mention is when all this was being annexed at a time similar to when the project went through, there was a conversation with many property owners from a particular council member about the rural services district and their ability to choose not to hook up. And I would hate to breach that trust for one property.
Yeah, it seems like a bait and
Now,
switch.
as part of my motion, should Mr. Sweet ever hook up, then he would automatically lose the rural service district exemption or reduction.
Okay. More discussion?
Is that part of your motion, Kelly?
Yes, it absolutely is.
Is the seconder okay with that?
Friendly amendment on that? Or is that already actually?
That, I was gonna say, isn't that the
That's standard
policy,
fare.
isn't that the ordinance of the rural service district? When it's available, you are removed from it and in urban?
Once
That's-
you hook up?
I'm just clarifying.
You're clarifying, but it is written policy,
Yeah.
and that is what staff should be doing when it happens
should be,
anyway.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm fine with the amendment.
Okay. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against, same sign. That motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we conduct the final reading of proposed ordinance 1583 as amended and dispense with the actual reading.
Second.
Motion by Bevins, second by Chesak. Discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. All right, next we're looking for a motion to approve the proposed ordinance 1583.
So move, Johnson.
Second. Bevins.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Johnson?
Just want to thank staff for putting in the time and the council for playing along and getting rid of this rural service district, because I think it's a real good move.
Thank you. Any other comments? Tony?
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes, that passes. And then next, we're looking for a resolution to approve the summary publication of the ordinance 1583.
So move, Johnson.
Second.
And by Johnson, second by Bevins. Johnson?
Just my understanding of the summary publication is we're still publishing it, but just summarizing it in a more readable format than putting all of the actual words and parcel numbers and everything in there, correct?
That's correct, yeah. This one became quite long from some of the legal descriptions on there.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. More discussion? Seeing none. Tony, please call the roll.
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes. That passes. All right, moving on to item 9, new business. 9A is a resolution for petition sufficiency and setting a public hearing for William Street right-of-way vacation. I believe this one is Mr. Habegorst.
Thank you, Mr. President. Attached to this request is a resolution which declares the sufficiency of the attached petition to vacate a portion of the William Street right-of-way in the northwest Brainerd, submitted by Mary Mayhead, the owner of the parcel adjacent to the north of the William Street right-of-way referenced in this petition. The resolution simply declares the sufficiency of the petition to start the process of street vacancy. This resolution accepts the petition from Mary and sets a public hearing to hear testimony for or against the said street vacation. After testimony is received, the public notice is mailed to affected residents, and City Council will have the choice to vacate the right-of-way at the meeting on July 7th, after the public hearing takes place. Staff is recommending adoption of this attached resolution, which declares the petition to vacate the portion of William Street right-of-way sufficiency and sets the public hearing for July 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Habegorst. Does anyone have questions?
Move to follow staff's recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Bevins, second by Johnson. Any discussion on the motion? Tony?
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes, that resolution passes. 9B, we have another resolution. This is petition sufficiency and setting a public hearing for alley vacation for block 164 in town of Brainerd. That's an old version of something. I believe this one, is this Mr. Habergorst?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Attached to this request is a resolution which declares the sufficiency of the attached petition to vacate the alley within Block 164, the original town of Brainerd plat. The alley is a north-south alley located within the block between Holly and Groove Streets and North Brainerd and 8th Street. The entire block is operated by Discovery Woods Mawsonary School. The alley does not show up on the GIS, but however, it has been officially vacated per records. The resolution just simply declares the sufficiency of the petition. This resolution accepts the petition from the William Capital Group LLC, which is the owner of the property, and sets a public hearing to hear testimony for or against the said alley vacation. After testimony is received, the public notice is mailed to the affected residents, and the city council will have the choice to vacate the right-of-way at the meeting on July 7th after the public hearing takes place. Staff is recommending the adoption of the attached resolution, which declares the petition to vacate the alley within Block 164, the town of Brainerd, sufficient, and sets the public hearing for July 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Habergorst. Anyone have
Follow
questions?
staff's recommendation.
Second.
By Chesak, second by Bevins. Any discussion on that motion? Looks like none. Tony, please call the roll.
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yep.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes, that resolution passes. Moving on to 9C, we have a call for a public hearing for the annexation of Dunmeyer's, PID 811605117. This one is James Kramvik. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Christopher Dunmeyer has submitted a petition for annexation, which includes Dunmeyer's Bar and Grill. Staff recommend the public hearing be held at the July 21st City Council meeting, which is 49 days after the June 2nd City Council meeting, to ensure all parties have received proper notice, have to include mailing dates in 30 days. The first reading for the annexation by ordinance will be conducted at the July 7th City Council meeting. So with that, staff recommends setting the public hearing for July 21st for the annexation of Dunmeyer's, PID 811605117.
All right, thank you, James. So we're looking for a motion to set the public hearing for July 21st for
moved,
that
Johnson.
annexation.
Second, Bevins.
All right. What, do we have to have a motion for the first reading as well?
That'll
Did I
be on
miss
July
that?
7th.
Okay. All right, we have a motion by Johnson, right?
Yep.
Second by
Chesak.
Chesak. All right. Discussion on that motion? No? I want to say I'm excited to have this excellent restaurant in the city limits of Brainerd. Thank you, Chris Dunmeyer. I don't know if you're here. I don't think he is.
He's right over there.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Jeff. All right. I don't think we need a roll call, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to 9D. This is a consideration for variance for an accessory structure at Teen Challenge 2517 Greenwood Street. Again, this is Community Development Director James Kramvik.
Thank you, Mr. President. So according to staff's findings, property has a significant amount of stormwater retention and wetlands surrounding the existing parking lots and buildings. There is not an alternate location for placement of the accessory structures behind the primary structure, thus satisfying the practical difficulty standard. So with that, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the variance request with the following conditions. The vegetated buffer between the proposed accessory structure and Greenwood Street must be maintained. Removal of invasive species, removal of dead or diseased vegetation, and general maintenance are permitted. And the driveway must be paved with a bituminous or concrete surface. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Thank you, James. Does anybody have questions for James?
I just have a quick question.
Chesak?
When you talk about the buffer, what is the height perhaps and the density of the shrubs or whatever that they're proposing there?
It's kind of a mix of low-lying shrubs, mostly deciduous, and then a number of trees there as well. So probably less of a opacity buffer in the wintertime, certainly more in the summertime. based on the other frontage locations that there could have been a potential for placement, this one is really the only location with that buffer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, then we're just looking for a motion to
So moved.
Second.
this variance with those conditions. Motion by, which one of you motioned that? Bevins? Second by Chesak? Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to 9E. This is a first reading for proposed ordinance 1584, rezoning St. Francis School and Church, 411 10th Street North. Again, Community Development Director, James Krambick.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the agenda item before council is the first reading of proposed ordinance 1584 pertaining to the rezoning of all parcels from TN1 district to PSP district. The PSP zoning district is intended to identify lands used for community gathering spaces for purposes of education, recreation, congregation, worship, health, or similar. Land zone PSP contain 1.0 acres of land or provide a mix of community uses for a single facility or campus. Churches and schools become a permitted use in the PSP district rather than a conditional use permit in the TN1 district. The PSP district also allows for increase in impervious surface percentages and reduced setbacks. One thing to note, if rezoned to PSP district, St. Francis will not need a conditional use permit for the demolition of 3 single-family homes. By conducting the first reading of proposed ordinance 1584 tonight, the City Council will be able to consider the street vacation, plat, rezoning, and conditional use permits at the June 16th City Council meeting. So with that, staff recommends to conduct the first reading of proposed ordinance 1584 and dispense with the actual reading.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Does anybody have questions? Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I heard you say that you could have a more impervious surface in a PSP zoned parcel. Does that mean fewer stormwater retention ponds, or smaller, or potentially none? No, not at all, says the engineer. We're having ponds. So what does it mean by the increased?
The zoning code has a certain limitation on the percentage of impervious cover. The stormwater rules do not change.
Oh, so there's
They-
still
they-
gonna need some big ponds over there.
Either that or they have underground treatment currently. They might have to work on expanding that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Erickson?
I guess a question for staff to that point. When this was at planning commission, did the presenter not talk about expanding those underground recharge?
So they did indicate that there'd most likely have to be an expansion to that. It was kind of positioned, when we go to the master plan side of things, in the middle of the two school potential expansions.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Is that something that could be part of a motion in this rezoning? I guess that's maybe a question for Attorney Langle.
If the stormwater requirements are the requirements, doesn't have to be in the motion, you're just gonna follow the rules.
Well, right,
Regardless.
but if the two options are another pond, we're becoming mostly ponds now, it seems like sometimes. When we're trying to find ways to prevent those, it seems like the council in general feels that way. Could that be part of the motion that they go with the other option instead of the pond, pending this rezone?
I
Maybe
guess,
they're already planning on it, but, you know.
yeah, my understanding is they're gonna expand the underground storage, but I'm not familiar enough with those rules off the top of my head to see how they're phrased. Whether you would have the authority to do that versus it being an option for the landowner. I don't have an answer to that question.
Okay.
Mr. President?
Mr. Chesak?
When they propose their plans to build, isn't that when we could address that, Mr. Kramik or Joe?
So I can answer that part of it. If it were rezoned to PSP, it then would be a permitted use, and then it would just fall under the guidelines of the zoning code as well as the stormwater code. If it were a conditional use permit, potentially that could be reviewed if stormwater were to be one of the rules and conditions or apply to any of the rules and conditions for granting conditional use permits. So there may be an opportunity if it were to not be rezoned to PSP.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Attorney Langle has a hand up.
Oh, who has their hand up? Attorney Lang. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, Council, so keep in mind too, that under the conditional use permit rules, they just have to follow the rules to get the permit. So again, it goes back to what the rules allow or don't allow.
Right, but my question is because if this is the potential of rezoning this and moving forward with this, if it's a full stop because this is just gonna turn into a bunch of retention ponds, and I don't think it's going to. I'm just saying this would be the time, if the council wanted to make sure we didn't turn it into that, it might be now, because once we move forward past this, then if it's just up to MPCA and the watershed district and all that, then it is what it is. But if we put it in our motion that it's part of this ordinance, then.
And
Mr. Kramvik?
yeah, so I just wanted to add, this is the first reading, so potentially something to think about in the next one if council does want to proceed and look at everything as a whole at the next meeting. First reading doesn't bind the council to any types of approvals or anything like that.
Okay. Mr. Yeager?
Yes, thank you. I will be voting in favor of this just to dispense with the actual reading, but just want to be very clear. I'm in opposition to this project from the road vacation standpoint, as well as the rezoning. So I'll be talking about that when that comes back before us. I'll also be talking.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. All right. Moving on, 9F, we have a first reading for proposed ordinance 1585, auto dealerships, outdoor service, sale and rental, and definition of abutting. James Kramvik, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. So at the April 7th City Council meeting, the council directed the Planning Commission to consider an ordinance to remove screening requirements from outside sales areas. By changing the definition of abutting, screening requirements would be removed from properties located across highways and arterial streets. They would still pertain to residential streets. The Planning Commission also directed staff to increase the size for potential sales lots. So with that, recommendation is to conduct the first reading of proposed ordinance 1585 and dispense with the actual reading.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions for Mr. Kramvik? Or for staff? Looks like no.
Move to approve staff's recommendation.
Second. All right, so we're conducting the first reading of proposed ordinance 1585 and dispensing with the actual reading. Is that your motion?
So moved.
Erickson, and second by Chesak. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. 9G. This is a first reading of proposed ordinance 1586 for code enforcement. Again, James Kramvik.
Thank you, Mr. President. The city currently administers code enforcement on a complaint-driven basis. This proposed ordinance allows for active code enforcement along major thoroughfares and near city parks, as a significant number of visitors and residents frequent these areas. I would also allow our code enforcement staff, if they do see something driving to a building inspection, would be able to also potentially cite for a violation. So with that, recommendation is to conduct the first reading of proposed ordinance 1586 and dispense with the actual reading, and then call for a public hearing on July 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Does anyone have questions? If not, we're looking for a motion to conduct the first reading of proposed ordinance 1586 and dispense with the actual reading.
So move, Yeager.
Second.
Motion by Yeager, second by Erickson. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Now we're just looking for a motion to call for a public hearing on July 7th for this item.
So moved.
Motion by Chesak,
Second.
second by Erickson. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. And we are cruising along. 9H, we have a first reading of proposed ordinance 1587, off-street parking surfaces. James Kramvik.
Thank you, Mr. President. So according to the zoning code, all new multifamily and non-residential driveways and parking areas must consist of concrete, asphalt, or pavers. Proposed ordinance 1587 would allow for unimproved surfaces in the general industrial district in certain areas, as well as park-zoned properties. Due to the potential sediment load, staff recommends that general industrial properties should be required to place improved surfaces near the street right-of-way, but may be allowed to construct unimproved surfaces in the rear yard to minimize improvement costs associated with expansion or new construction. So with that, the recommendation is to conduct the first reading of proposed ordinance 1587 and dispense with the actual reading.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Anybody have questions? Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, walk me through how we got here.
So there's been a few instances that has come up. One of the instances was just for crypto, potentially in the back of their property, allowing some of a kind of an access road, a service road, to be class 5. Again, minimizing the costs and something that's not highly visible. Another one was from an EDA tour visit that we took of Giovanni's. They talked about wanting to potentially do an expansion on their back to allow for semi-trucks to have a bigger turning radius. Again, if you're expanding it, that's where you'd have to meet the code, and you know, now you have an issue of, do you pave the whole thing? It becomes potentially cost prohibitive. So there's been instances where people want to add on, and certainly the code might restrict that.
Okay.
Trying to make it easier. For once, government is trying to make something easier.
First time ever.
Okay. So we're looking for that motion. No, did we have a motion?
I'll move to conduct the first reading of proposed ordinance 1587 and dispense with the actual reading.
Motion by Erickson. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Yeager. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to 9I, we have authorization for Greater Minnesota Housing Grant Application for Outlot F. I believe this is Eric Charpentier.
Yes, Mr. President and Council, before you, you've got just a request for the City of Brainerd to apply for a Minnesota Housing Grant for the Greater Minnesota Housing Infrastructure Program. This is one-time funding that comes out of the 2023 legislation, and it's specifically for infrastructure, i.e. roads, sewer, water, gutter, curb and gutter, to help the city install that for a development that we're working on with the developer for Outlot E and F in the Brainerd Oaks. You've seen this before. We did apply on behalf of the city last year for a different grant program. That was the Minnesota Workforce Housing Grant. The developer did not get funded for that. These are one-time dollars, about $7.75 million available for outstate Minnesota, and we are approaching the deadline. They gave us about a 2-month lead time to get this put together. Deadline for application is June 12th, and the HRA would be working with the city and the Community Development Director to get this submitted if the council chooses. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Eric. Does anybody have questions?
The motion.
Doesn't look like anybody has questions, so go ahead with the motion.
I'd move to direct staff to apply for the Greater Minnesota Infrastructure Grant Program in support of the project presented by Eric Charpentier just now. And
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by one of those guys.
Chezak.
Okay, Chezak says it was him. Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, this is an exciting project. I was on the Housing and Redevelopment Authority for 10 years, and we've been trying to figure out a way to get rid of lots E and F. Couldn't give them away. If we could get this infrastructure funding to get some sewer and water and streets back to that lot, we have a developer willing to build 18 units of housing in this town, and it's a win for everybody if we can get this grant, because it could put good unused infill land to use in town. So I'm excited to apply for this grant.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Chezak?
I was excited last year.
Yeah? Excited again. Very good. All right. Looks like there's no more discussion of any meaning. Let's move on to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. All right, now we're moving on to an additional item. This is a point-in-time data request and funding information request. I'm just going to hand this over to Mr. Chesak, if you want to.
Yeah, I put together, I guess if you call it a draft, I sent it to you and Connie and dispatch Teresa. And it's just a point-in-time data is a survey done annually, I believe, and it counts in each county the number of people who are considered homeless. And I believe the county should have those results. I think as a city, we should know what's going on, and that would help us. Also, I would think it would be important that we also include in the request, I had an email here, other items such as any funding the county is using, whether from state or other federal perhaps dollars, grant money they may have received that's been dispersed. One second here. It's disbursements to Bridges of Hope or Bridge on 7th related to funding they may have given through the county, because as far as any of us know right now, the grant money that had become available, I don't believe was able to be used if they didn't have a year-round operation. And there's also a couple other items here. To disbursements to any businesses that may be providing shelter, and also the county board minutes that they may have approved, or if there are any that approve the use of that funding. Just some items such as that I think as a council, I'd like to see us make a request to our, perhaps Connie, I think Nick's out, if we could get that out and maybe back for our next meeting to see if they can get it to us, if anything's available. So that would be my motion, if anybody's willing to.
Second.
There you go.
Motion by Chesak, second by Johnson. Is that clear to staff?
Yeah, I wanted clarification too.
Is that clear, Connie?
So we're supposed to send it to Crow Wing County to get this information.
To get PIT data and grant funding towards homeless initiatives in the city.
Yeah, I put together a draft. We can get that to you. I didn't send it to everybody because I just.
Okay. So that email that you sent out will clear up the.
Yeah, it's.
Okay. Let me just pull that up real quick.
I don't know, you maybe want to read, it doesn't have to be exactly what I wrote down. Maybe somebody has something else to.
Oh, that seems like a good starting point. You want to just read it, Connie?
I can read it. So point-in-time survey data for 2025, and if available from other surrounding counties. Any disbursements to Bridges of Hope or Bridges on 7th or any other facilities providing shelter in the city of Brainerd. Data associated with DHS grant funding or any other funding sources used to aid homelessness in Brainerd. Disbursements to businesses or other facilities for providing shelter to homeless persons, and Crow Wing County Board minutes approving specific use of said disbursements.
Okay, that's pretty clear. Is that good with the seconder? If that's a friendly amendment to anything that was in mind? Okay. Any more discussion? All right, seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to number 10, this is staff reports. As usual, we'll start with Tony Gage. Are you okay, Tony?
I'm good, thank you.
Tony had a little auto accident. Is your neck okay?
Yeah.
All right. Chief Holmes.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Chief Davis?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Sean?
Nothing.
You're hiding in the back over there?
Correct.
How about our new CLC station manager, Max? Nothing? All right. City engineer, Jesse Dean?
You know, if construction season excites you as much as it excites me, your World Series is about to start. We're going to have a very busy season here shortly.
When does the first one start, Jesse?
They're essentially kicking off over the next week and two. The Safe Routes is kicking off next week. The resurfacing is kicking off next week. The reconstruction is expected in a couple weeks. It's going to be a very, very busy season.
How about the roundabout?
That's probably going to be like a late July.
Late July? Okay.
That's
Second
probably
half of the summer. All right. Thank you. Mike Habergorst.
Thank you, Mr. President. The parks and our streets roundabouts have been maintained and everything, and just keep the input from our parks and concerns out there coming, and we're keeping a tab of those, making sure that we get responses back to those individuals that reach out to us too. So, thank you.
Thank you. James Kramvik.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to update the council on Country Manor. They closed on their final bond documents, which was kind of the last step prior to beginning construction. So the groundbreaking for the project is slated for June 10th, which is very good news for Brainerd. Also, the EDA has a busy upcoming meeting this Thursday with 8 agenda items. One item of interest is the company has submitted a letter of intent to purchase 3 properties in the industrial park under the $1 per acre incentive program, so that will be reviewed by the EDA.
Excellent. Thank you, James. Attorney Langle? Nothing from me, thank you. Chris Schubert? Nothing in addition to my report. Thank you.
Who's that guy?
Eric Charpentier
Oh,
from
man.
HRA is here in person.
Just nice to be here in person.
Skip him anyway.
Nothing further to report.
He has to raise his hand to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Charpentier.
Hit star 3, Eric.
Next, we'll go to the mayor. The Honorable Mayor Bedeau.
Yeah, I just want to say Parks kicked off the season. It's looking great. Our athletic activities are starting to happen as well. Thank you to Community Ed and to the YMCA for those. As a parent of young children, I really appreciate the activities that happen and thank everyone involved with all of that, including our park staff. Secondly, I had the opportunity of attending my second of graduations at the Brainerd High School that were not my own. My oldest son graduated, and I just want to say thank you to the school district and to everyone involved for their education. Both my son and my daughter have now graduated from there. The 2 younger ones are starting their journey in the district as well, and so we're really excited to see how that's happening. And I know they've got some tough decisions to make in the near future, but I just want to tip my hat towards ISD 181 and say how great of an organization they are and how lucky we are to have the schools that we have here. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving on to council reports. Let's start with Mr. Chesak.
Yes, it seems by the report that, Mr. Talking about the $1 for the EDA, we still can't give it away, Gabe, even for $1. We got to sell it for the land. Considering the outlot E and F properties. Public Utilities Commission met last Tuesday, I believe, on the, the 27th, and had a good meeting. We were sitting back here again, and of course, the item on the black metrics did not come up because I think there's a contract language has got to go through, gone through a little bit better, and I think we're looking for the EDA to see what happens there. But this is all going to pan out. Hopefully it comes to a fruition here pretty soon and we figure something out. But other than that, it was a good meeting, and that's all I have, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Mr. Yeager?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick update. Exciting happenings out at our regional airport. The personnel and I saw that, Mr. Bevins. The Personnel and Finance Committee narrowed a field of 8 to 10 highly qualified applicants for our interim director position down to 3. The Airport Commission will be interviewing the 3 finalists at their upcoming meeting this Thursday, and hopefully be offering a position to one of those 3 applicants. And I just want to say we had a robust turnout of highly qualified people that are super excited to come help us out with the airport here. So we're giving you guys an update on that after it happens and let you know what's happening. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager. Chairman Erickson.
I don't know if my excitement level reaches World Series level for construction season, but it is exciting to see the staging going on. My wife and I took a walk around South Brainerd for the resurfacing project, so excited to see those signs going up, and I know it'll be a little frustrating getting around during those project areas during the summer, but obviously be patient and the outcome will be worth it. So that's it for me.
Chairman Erickson. Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I got to attend last week the World Series of Retirements. Deanne Berry, director of the center, after decades of being most beloved at the center, has retired. And it was such a monumental occasion that they didn't even serve donuts. They had a real cake. So goodbye, Deanne. She has really done a lot for the center and the city of Brainerd, and we're gonna miss her. However, we also need to welcome Darcy Wakowiak, the new director. So that's what I've been up to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bevins. Chairman Johnson.
Nothing to add.
That was a quick one. All right. I just wanted to say, I've noticed our workers out painting today, adding a little color to the street downtown. Some love it, some don't. I think it looks great when it's brand new. I've noticed the planters look great. Roundabouts are looking really good. And I think the trees are about to be, some of those dead trees are about to be replaced on the boulevards, it looks like. Am I right? College Drive. Yep, I ran into Sean, he told me that, so. Things are starting to look a lot better. The grass is green, we're getting some rain. Moving into summer. So everybody, like you were saying, just get excited for this road construction season, because you're not gonna be able to avoid it.
Did you forget Connie?
The World Series.
Oh, Connie, did you want to add anything?
Nothing to add.
We're gonna end with Connie.
Nothing to add at this point, we're good.
Oh, I thought you had something good. All right, with that, we're just looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So move Stunek.
Moved by Bevins, second by Chazak. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.